Grazie Gianni.
Thank you, Gianni. Thank you to whoever is here till the end of the work. I have to keep the attention up after this interesting day. This day is full of information and exchanges. First and foremost, I would like to thank for the participation in this seminar, and thanks for the participation in the round table. What we are debating today, we are debating a groundbreaking topic. So far, I never took part in these meetings with these LGBT rights. That's why the Confederation has been supporting this European project whenever it was submitted. Europe changed. We no longer have the black and white Europe with the photograph with only men. Now Europe is far more colorful. We definitely have a rainbow here. And all rights relating economic freedom to the detriment of civil and workers' rights. So the black and white photograph somehow should reflect the colors and nuances of the society of these last 40 days. I would like to thank CGIL commitment with respect to the LGBT rights. I'm sorry to say that all the other confederations and all the other trade unions didn't behave the same way. The European Confederation of Trade Unions is active in the promotion of LGBT rights in the workplace. In Brussels, we're not working with a cascade format, but our work can bear fruits only in presence of a bottom-down approach. So that's why we can be the advocates of all these innovative activities. The commitment of CGIL, as well as the CGT or Comisiones Obreras, was really active, even in this financial meltdown period. There is a myriad of negative consequences at a social level. Gianni, at the beginning of this roundtable, you were mentioning this the social catalog, if you like, of Inca. I will try to add some remarks. Carlo was talking about a disruptive element, and I think you mentioned it in a couple of occasions. We might need a disruptive positive element in order to see a future page of Europe. But also, you were mentioning another disruptive driver. Crisis is affecting all the fundamental rights which have been gained and obtained in the last 50 years. Despite some detractors, we know that the relationship between these policies and the social situations boil down to the weakening of rights, civil rights and employment rights. All these measures have been translated into cutbacks in the public spending, in social protection systems, social security systems, by worsening the situations of the most vulnerable groups of society, and specifically the LGBT. regardless of the process, I think in France we have some positive examples. They already have this marriage for all law. All these negative processes have been affecting all our countries. I might mention cases of all these European countries who pass laws which are anti-gay laws. In Hungary, for example, in Lithuania, where if some gay parades or gay marches are organized, the police can arrest them, can put them in jail. So we have different situations in different countries, but specifically the Eastern European countries didn't make progress in terms of rights. Maybe there was an improvement of economic conditions, but definitely no improvement whatsoever with respect to their rights. The European Trade Unions Confederation launched an alarm. That's why we called for a change of route. We should keep on being confident in the European project, but I think we should modify it. As European Trade Union Confederation, we have been focused on the relaunch of employment and the importance of the human being, which should be at the centerpiece of our debate. In view of the elections of the European Parliament, we adopted a manifesto whereby we express a series of principles and values, which should be a guide, a reference guide for all confederations working, aiming at the election of representatives, being champions of principles and values which are very close to the trade union's interests. A Swedish study shed light on this situation. In reality, in many European countries, and with the elections of the European Parliament, there is this risk. Many populist, racist, intolerant and bigot parties can gain a big chunk of the electorate. And it might change in a negative way, in a negative fashion, all the European policies. And this is a warning I would like to give you. I might really appreciate the discouragement of Gigliola. She said we are fed up of promises by politicians. But I think we can be quite hopeful on the people and politicians in Brussels. Sooner or later, we will have an impact of all these policies. So far, we only had negative impact. European Parliament, so far, since the Barroso Commission, has been a fundamental ally of the European Trade Unions Confederation. Somehow, they have been the main promoters of initiatives and measures addressed to the promotion of rights, to the improvement of conditions of life and European citizens. Unfortunately, the institution has worked by itself. We are well aware of these center-right movements, which has somehow lowered the quality of the intergovernmental method, which has prevailed so far in Europe. And some member states, especially Germany and the United Kingdom, were the spokesman of the European policies, but that shouldn't be the case. Why am I saying that the European Parliament has been the promoter of these rights? I would like to remind you that for 10 times, the adoption of a roadmap for the fight against discrimination against LGBT persons has been proposed. I wouldn't like to dwell into details, but mention should be made of the fact that in Europe we have soft law measures helping into the implementation of articles of the treaties, directives that somehow can pave the way in the different member states. So this cascade effect, if you like. So we have a schedule with respect to the equality between men and women, with respect to disabled people, Roma people, but also a schedule and a program in terms of this political opposition. So this roadmap has been backed by has been a long time backed by the European trade union organizations. It might engender an exchange of best practices or good practices on behalf of member states. Maybe it might give rise to a more specific and effective monitoring on the conditions of LGBT persons, and maybe promoting an exchange of data. So a series of practical commitments to which member states maybe they are not ready to follow suit. So that's why I would like to reiterate the importance of the ballot in the future European elections. As for the obstacles and hindrances of free movement of LGBT people, this has been widely dealt with over the day. I was given the possibility to make a comparison within our European Trade Unions Confederation, and I would like to refer to what Salvatore was saying this morning, the necessity to reconcile the LGBT issues and all the other policies. We should introduce LGBT issues in the policies of the different trade unions. So for example, if we talk about free movement of workers, this is absolutely key. We should also work with experts on the matter in order to see whether we can introduce and reconcile all these issues in the daily work. For example, people dealing with the collective bargaining, but also other European issues. For example, the rights of asylum on behalf of the refugees. Carlo was mentioning these issues before. A thorough analysis of the collective agreements introducing LGBT issues at different levels might be interesting. I don't think it's up to the institutions, but rather the trade unions of the European Trade Unions Organization itself could perform this type of work. They could carry out this type of analysis. In the social dialogue, with all the limitations that Gianni was reminding us, which are expressed in the different provisions of the treaty, and we are not very knowledgeable about it. I think the European Trade Union Confederation should better inform and disseminate all this information. Thanks to the social dialogue, we managed to update the text of the directive on the parental leaves at the European level. The first agreement was signed in 1996, which was later transposed at the European level. Despite the crisis, there was a strong political push on behalf of the Commission in order to review this test. So that's why this dialogue among the parties should be prompted. Probably Mr. Barroso has a different stance on this issue. We managed to revise this text, and this agreement envisages that all states, whenever the directive is explored in the local and national context, they should consider the different specifications of the modern families. This has been a huge fight, not only to introduce these texts in a new agreement, but also to define what are these modern families, because employers didn't want to use definitions or terms referring to same-sex families. I think it might be interesting. March the 8th was the end of this transposition period, so it might be interesting to better analyze how it has been implemented at a national level. So this is one of the instruments that allow for the transposition of these directives in the different orders. This could be a good way forward for the trade unions, or maybe for the European trade union organizations. I've been mentioning different levels, the European Parliament elections, the European social dialogue. I would like to conclude by saying that for a long time, the European Trade Unions Organization adopted a series of principles. There is a will to keep on working on LGBT issues. This commitment has been reiterated in Athens for Athens. So we are ready to work together on these issues. Maybe we might start again from the project of standing equality that we launched in 2008, which envisaged a series of campaigns on these issues, on the wake of what Carlo said, and see, maybe take stock of what we reached so far. This concrete work can be performed only with involvement and participation of our members at the national level. The Confederation is really willing to work in a concrete way together with you. This is all on my side. I don't think there is time and room for further remarks.
Let me ask you a question which comes quite natural to me. I don't know whether you've noticed that all the websites that have commented on the Italian law transposing the European law on parental leave have stressed that working fathers should be entitled to at least 1 month of parental leave. And everybody seems to be happy because eventually working fathers are compelled to take a parental leave. And trade unions too have underlined the importance of fathers and mothers cooperating to raise their children. Therefore, the wording that you stressed in the legal text will have to be replaced after collective bargaining with the right syntax. Therefore, rather than father and mother, we should use the word spouse, because if there is no contractual rule specifying the sex of the spouse, in Italian this will be understood as being one of the two. Probably trade unions didn't focus on that wording that should have been highlighted at the time when the European directive was first transposed into the Italian legislation. Although our way towards equal treatment and equal rights is going on, the Italian legislation still refers in its wording and phrasing to fathers and mothers. And although the right to marry and the right to live together are considered as being two separate rights, trade unions refer to partnerships that are normally considered as marriages, but also include homosexual or same-sex partnerships. What do you think you will do in your roadmap? I would like to start by saying that the directive text was negotiated in English, and I had a chance to participate in those negotiations. I said chance because the legal text, the final legal text, is a good one. The terms being used in English were gender neutral. You are right when you said that the translation of the legal text into Italian was not probably so gender neutral. That is one of the dangers that could have been avoided during negotiations. Spouses or couple, rather than fathers and mothers, should have been used. And in the text of the agreement, the definition of a parental leave of at least 4 months for parents is the statement as is phrased. And one of these parental leaves should be for fathers in the couple. So you are right, we should revise this wording if and when partners will have a chance to update this legal text, knowing that member states in such a difficult political context may go way beyond the minimum standards we have established at a European level. Gianni, however, this shows that we need to go on working on this as representatives of trade unions, also in terms of education and training on these topics at all levels. Our CGT colleague stressed that trade unions are highly committed to raising awareness among all activists and trade unionists on our LGBT issues, because there is poor knowledge and also reluctance from many people to tackle these issues both at a contractual and political levels. So what about our roadmap? And I'm happy I can give you a practical example. The European Trade Union Confederation, ETUC, last year made an exercise that will be replicated next year. 2 years ago in Paris, we trained some national and corporate trade union representatives on LGBT rights and issues. This is, of course, just a grain of sand or a small drop in the ocean, but it is a first effort for trade union representatives, once they're back in their confederations, can do in order to better represent LGBT rights and issues. Thank you, Cinzia.